Here's a BSA Goldstar fuel tank that we've had in to restore. As you can see, it's in a bit of a state. There's peeling plating, there's corrosion to deal with, spitting in quite deep on that side, and it just needs a good restore to make it pretty again. First job is to book it in, so we photograph it, we itemise all of the parts out so that we can give you an estimate before we do anything with it. That gets printed off and it gets put with the petrol tank, and it will travel round the workshop with the tank. The first port of call for any job is into the stripping shop, where what we've got to do is we've got to strip all the old plating off, any rust, paint, all that sort of stuff, and get it back to the bare metal so that we can actually start doing something with it. Now, what we're doing here is wiring up some of the parts that came with the tank on copper wire. Here's the petrol tank going into the stripper. Now this is a mixture of sulfuric acid and some other stuff, and what we do is we reverse the process and actually plate it off. There you see it's been in there for a while and all of the plating has been removed. Now this process doesn't actually get rid of the rust. We've done that already, we didn't film that part. What we've done is we've soaked it in hydrochloric acid to get rid of the rust, and also we've soaked the tank in hot caustic soda to remove any remnants of paint, and it also cleans the inside because the inside's got to be as clean as the outside. Here's the tank being swilled off. And then we're going to dip it in a hot soapy cleaner. That's just to stop it going rusty before we start polishing it. This is the first visit this petrol tank's going to have into our polishing shop. Now on this occasion we're not actually going to try and do the whole of the first polishing operation. Normally the first polishing operation is where you remove all of the marks, so you've got to cut to the deepest corrosion marks to get them out. The reason why we're not doing that is because this tank needs some metalwork repairs, and we do not want to remove too much metal before our metalwork repair guy gets hold of it, because he needs metal on the tank in order to work it and remove the dents. Change of belt there. You can see how the corrosion's fitting in there. Time to speed it up a bit. There we go, just finishing off that pre-polishing part now. Time to mark up all of the areas that need attention from our metalwork repairer. See a definite crease in the side of that tank. If we don't take that out, then when it's finished to a mirror finish, you'll see that from 50 yards away. It will be so obvious. Quite a lot of dents down the side of that tank. Now, here's the tank being repaired. Now, the metalwork repairs is one of the few things that we don't actually do ourselves. We have a guy that comes in especially to repair it. So it is in-house because he comes and does it at our premises. I can't actually tell you too much about the repairing process. It's always very interesting to watch him. He tells me that he's just gently moving the metal in the direction that he wants it. There we go. At super speed you can see how he's just working it slightly. Note how he's constantly checking it with his hand to see if that dent is coming out. So he's managed to remove that crease in the side without cutting the bottom of the tank. Just making sure he's not putting another dent in there while he's getting this one out. I always find it fascinating to watch these metal workers. If you like what we do, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and if you hit the notification bell, you'll be informed when we release a new video. After he's finished his work with the hammer, then he just needs to clean the surface up. This is mainly so that you can feel and you can see that the dents are actually out. Just double checking it all over, make sure that the dents are out. There we go, repaired with no cutting and welding. Now the tank's been repaired, it's back into the polishing shop. Now this time we are going to complete the first polishing operation, which is, as you know, we call it cutting out, where we cut out all of the corrosion marks that are in it. As you can see, that was the dented side and there are no longer any dents. Speed it up, you can see that we have to do quite a lot of this. This first polishing operation is normally one of the ones that takes the longest, depending on how much metal you've got to remove to get rid of all the marks. work our way through gradually finer and finer grades until we're left with a mirror finish. And then when the tank is a mirror finish, it is then suitable for nickel and chrome plating. Now this is what we call a sateen mop, and it's just being used to clean up inside that badge area. You can't get in there with an abrasive belt, so we need a smaller tool. And an even smaller one to get right round it. Now this top surface isn't actually seen, this is going to be painted at a later date, but we just clean it up, and that's just to make sure that the plating will stick. You can see a seam there through that tank. Now that's where the tank's welded together, top and bottom in two halves. What you can't see on the camera is that there's actually a line of pitting in that weld. Now because of the line of pitting in the weld, we're going to have to copper plate this tank to hide it, or else that will be really apparent. Now we're in the plating shop. We've already cleaned and wired up this petrol tank, and it's now going through the swills heading towards being copper plated. This first tank we're going to plate it with is a cyanide based copper solution. Now the reason for that is that build up that we need can only be got through using a acid copper solution, but you can't plate acid copper on top of steel because it attacks it. So we're going to put a layer of cyanide copper on first. Now you can see the copper already starting to form on the surface of the metal. After it's been in there a few minutes, it should come out a nice pink colour. Now this layer of cyanide copper will protect the steel from the acid copper solution for the first few minutes that it's plating. Now what makes it even more complicated is the acid copper will not plate internally, and because it's very acidic, it will start to rot the middle of the tank out while it's plating, because the acid will attack it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bung all the holes on this tank up, and then we're going to fill it with water so that it's actually full. If we don't fill it with water, it will just float like a boat on the surface of the plating tank. There we go, that's the filler neck and the breather holes plugged up. Just got to make sure that we've got all the air out of it, and then we can bung up the petrol tap holes underneath. This is why copper plating a petrol tank is a two-man job. You need somebody there to assist you. Now this tank is extremely heavy now because it's full of water. And there we go, into the acid copper tank. Now said it doesn't move, just to make doubly sure, we're going to put a heavy weight down the centre of the tank. It's been in there a few hours now to build up an adequate thickness of copper, because we need to put enough copper on to allow us to work the copper layer and get rid of those pitting marks that are in the welds. There we go, letting the water out. You can see how lovely that looks at the moment. and we're all finished. Now we're back in the polishing shop again. What we're going to do now is go over this tank with fine abrasives again. Now what we're doing here is we want to be able to see exactly where those pits are that are going to need a bit of additional work. But this will be something like a 600 grit here. So more work on the tank, gently taking out those marks where the pits are. Doing it with a DA is a little bit slower and more gentle, because what we don't want to do is break through the copper layer, because then we'll have to copper it for a second time. Now we're going to go over it on the top. This is just to make sure that the next layer of plating adheres nicely. You don't actually see this bit in the finished tank. This is a painted area, but we just want to make sure that it's nice and clean. Now we're on to a brush. We're going to use this brush to remove all of the abrasive marks that we've just put in. Got to work all over the tank, make sure we don't miss any areas. Little and often is the trick with the polishing compounds. Now we're moving on to a mop, because although the brush has got out all of the abrasive marks, it doesn't polish it up to a fine enough surface for plating. So now you can really see the shine starting to build. Before we can plate it, this has got to be a mirror finish. There we go. Nearly finished now. Now just need to inspect it. That's being wiped over with a cloth so that we can make sure there's no marks lurking under any greasy polishing compound. There we go, ready for plating. Now here we're in the plating shop for the final time. So it's been wired up again. A nice wipe over in the soapy cleaner. Now this is going in our electric cleaner. What we do here is we pass current through it, and this removes any oxides from the surface, leaving it what we call active, because if we don't activate the surface, a slightest trace of oxides will stop the plating from bonding properly. So now we've got a swill, and then we've got to swill again. So these last two that we've just done are in water. Now this is into clean water. You can see this is the clean water coming in from the tap in the bottom right hand corner.
Remove the bum.
Now this is a dilute acid. This is just to remove any traces of soap from the cleaner. And then back into the clean swill, and we'll be ready to go into the nickel tank. Now the nickel tank is important because it's the nickel layer that gives the part all of the good looks and the weather protection. So this is about the most important stage. It's been in there for an hour or so time to take it out. It gets swilled again. And again. We're just making sure that we've removed any remnants of nickel solution. Now we're going into the chrome tank. So it's only going to be in the chrome tank for a few minutes. The chrome layer is there basically just to stop the nickel from tarnishing. Changes the colour, but its only purpose is to stop the nickel tarnishing. After a swill, and then into a chrome neutralising solution. And into another swill. Quick check, and there we are. The finished tank. So now there's the finished BSA tank, just to remind you what it looked like before, and this is what it looks like now. Absolutely beautiful. The customer's going to be really happy.